What's up, guys? Welcome to From Our Homes. From the logo, From Our Homes. We're not on the set this week. Yours truly got sick, and I'm not trying to get a baby sick. So we're just going to do this from our homes today.
Non-COVID related illness.
Yeah. Hopefully. I didn't test, but I'm just going to assume, which is a good thing to do with this, right?
Yeah.
Blazers. It's been kind of fun. The one fun thing to watch, Shaedon Sharpe balling out the last 3 games. Chauncey's been listening to us. He's been watching the pod because as soon as we told him to start Shaedon Sharpe gets to start. And he's been tearing it up, putting up some fun stat lines, coming out of the sky to get some blocks and some rebounds, putting up pretty efficient shooting numbers, able to hit the three, obviously had his fair share of ridiculous acrobatic dunks. Fun to watch.
Shaedon does a couple things every game that make you go, whoa. And that's way more than anyone else. The Dame has the deep logo threes, but Shaedon, it's a multitude of things. He skies for a rebound. He has a transition play. He hits a step back three, and you're just like, okay, I can see the whole package already. The kid's 19. 19. We didn't see this kind of consistency already that we were seeing from Simons at 19. He did have that one good game when he scored 37 at the end of the season,
and then he rolled his ankle and cried.
Yeah, but look, it's a 3-game stretch. Shaedon had 24, 24, and 29 efficiently every game, and he's 19. And he was playing pretty good defense on a great player in, Shea. And it's really tough to see that young, especially when that guy did not play a single college game. So the sky's the limit for Shaedon, figuratively and literally, because he can jump out of the building. And I'm glad that he's finally getting minutes, because we've been saying it all year. Shaedon, we want him to play more minutes. And yes, it might cost you some wins when we were trying to win, but his development is key for the Blazers' future, especially if we're ushering in kind of a young core, like what we're kind of thinking is going to happen here.
Well, and to make Colton happy, he's getting these stats in losses. So that's what we're going for. The Colton's rooting against us. Are you going to any games anytime soon, Colton?
Against the Sacramento Kings, I usually go to 10 to 15 to 20 games in a season. Even this year, I haven't gone to one because I had a kid. That slows everything down, but I'm going to the Tank City.
Blame the kid.
And I know that's the new strategy. Blame the kid, right? But here's the thing. I don't like losing seasons. I don't like to lose. When it's obvious that it's going to better the team by getting a better draft pick, that is the only time that I like this. And it's been obvious that this team has been broken for a while now, this back half of the season. In the past, our last 4 wins have been against the bottom dwellers of the league. And if you go through and look at how many games we won outside of those, not a lot when we were trying to win, So that's why I advocate for that, because it's, like I said, lose the battle, win the war. And you're just trying to improve the team whatever way you can. And in Portland, that's usually drafting. So
all I'm going to say is that if you see someone in Portland wearing a Kings jersey, booing the Blazers when they score, it's not a Kings fan. It's someone from the logo.
Not true.
A tanking fan and hoping his prediction holds true fan.
Shaedon. How did we get Shaedon? How did we get him? We didn't try to win last year, but look who we got. And now he's the great hope of the Blazers, and we got him from tanking, completely tanking.
I'm all for trying to draft smart. That's how we've got all of our good players.
Exactly.
It's fun to give you crap for rooting against the Blazers is all.
Are you going to the Wednesday or Friday game, Colton?
Friday.
Nice.
Yes, I will be there Friday.
That's gonna be the second of 2 games at home versus the Kings. So hopefully by that game they'll be starting John Butler and Ibu Baji or whatever that guy's name is.
Hey, I if they have to win one more game this season, I hope it's the game that I'm at. But you know what?
No, you don't. Are you actually going to be rooting for them when you're at the game, or are you going to just be like,
when you're at the game, you can't not root for your team. Come on, this is my team that I will never. I love to see them succeed, and I want to see them win a championship. That's what I'm trying to do. That's my goal is to win.
I hope that you get to see some big Shaedon highlights because that'll make it worth the cost of admission alone. And I mean, yeah, he's been just playing incredibly well so far, since he's kind of started to get serious minutes. And it was really fun to watch him and Shea go at it. Like that's some future of the league stuff right there. And they were both on full display. So that was a fun game to watch. It may have been the most fun I've had watching a Blazer game in 2 or 3 months, honestly. I thought that was a good game, and we had a real chance to win, and then we lost. I guess that's the best of both worlds if we're really committed to this tanking thing. So
the Shays going at it? They're the Canadian Shield of Shays.
Yeah, it was a fun game to watch, and what was very promising is Shaedon was staying in front of him. Chauncey put Shaedon on Shea just to say, hey, this is what we're going to need you to do on defense because you got the athleticism. He cut him off. I mean, it's hard to guard that guy without fouling him. I saw multiple possessions of on-ball defense where he cut him off, didn't foul him, and Shea's got all the tricks in the book at drawing fouls and everything, but he didn't foul, most of the time. So that's so promising. Shaedon's not very good on off-ball defense yet, but on ball, he's shown a lot of potential already, which is crazy to me.
When I was watching that matchup, it kind of struck me a few times that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander could kind of be like what Shaedon Sharpe turns out to be potentially. I mean, obviously their games are a little bit different, but just the big guard that can handle the ball, super athletic. If Shaedon continues to develop as you called it, every trick in the bag like Gilgeous-Alexander has, they kind of have some similarities I saw when I was watching them play.
Really quick, something that made me laugh and smile. There was a play where Shaedon came off of a screen. His defender, I think it was Dort, was trailing him, and Shaedon pulled a Dame and just pulled up right when his defender was like running into him and drew a foul that way. It's funny, and it makes me think Dame's teaching him those tricks of like, look, if this guy's trailing me, just pull up and he'll hit you while you're shooting. That's what Dame does all the time, and Shaedon did it already. He's already like learning like a sponge, so that's promising for his development.
Go
ahead.
I was just gonna say, does it do either one of you guys when you watch Shaedon Sharpe play kind of get the feeling he's not necessarily the most aggressive by nature? It kind of seems to me like he doesn't not in a bad way necessarily, but almost like Kevin Durant, where he doesn't want to just shot chuck. He wants to play really efficiently. He wants to play for good shots, not take a lot of bad shots. I mean, he's taking threes, but looking at his season so far and his last few games, it just doesn't seem like he's obviously got the green light at this point. At this point, it's obviously like he can take any shot he wants. And he's still, the most shots he's putting up in a game was 20. He went 9 for 20 against the Bulls. And then against OKC, he was 9 for 13, but 8 from 11.
29.
Yeah, 8 from 11 from the free throw line. So not necessarily in a bad way. Not like he's not, aggressive when he needs to be. But he kind of reminds me of maybe like Kevin Durant or a few other players where he likes to play efficiently.
Yeah, I definitely see that too. He's not super emotional for one thing, and sometimes that means I think sometimes emotion can lead to being more aggressive, and he definitely plays more passively, but like you said, that not necessarily in a negative way. It's not like he's just waiting for the game to come to him, but he is less aggressive than some of the other young star players in the league. Hopefully that's a good thing. I think as long as he has a superstar player to play with, it is a good thing. When it could be a bad thing is if he was just alone, or if he was supposed to be the star player, he might not have the mentality to, go out there and get his every night. But
I still feel like it's something he could develop pretty quickly. Like he's 19. It's his first year. It's not like it's indicative of what he's going to be like for his entire career, but I've just noticed it this year so far.
I think it is his personality type, though. I think his personality is a little bit more quiet and letting things come to him, and that can be fine. I mean, there's been great players that have played that way. But I think it's also worth mentioning, we've talked about Dame a little bit. The reason that Shaedon's getting these opportunities is because Dame is officially shut down for the year. And I guess that's what we've been waiting for. I guess that's a good thing. He probably won't get hurt. He's not going to be going through any layup lines. So
yeah, I think it's funny that we talked about it last week. Like, when would we shut Dame down? I said he needs to play one more game, qualify for All NBA at 58 games. He played in that one game and then was instantly shut down. And I was like, yep, I knew that was coming. But yeah, layup lines are a killer out there. Just ask Kevin Durant. You might get injured just from taking layups.
Yeah, obviously the rest of the starters, or most of them, are also out the last couple games. Grant, Nurkic, Simons. So they have fully embraced the tank, which I think our friend Colton saw come in a little bit before, at least I did. I remember just a few shows ago, I said, quote unquote, Damian Lillard's going to drag this team kicking and screaming into the playoffs, and even he couldn't do it. He wasn't he was Superman. He put on his cape, but he still couldn't drag this team there, which is fair enough. I don't know. It's a weird thing to see a franchise player has the best season of his career, averages 32 plus a game, and the team can't even make the playoffs. It's a strange situation to watch, really.
And one more thing to mention real quick, I guess just a quick conversation, is what did you guys think of Nasir? Because if we're talking about, the rest of the guys being shut down, I mean, against OKC, he had 28 and 6, and on 50% shooting from 3, and made all his free throws. That was the best performance I've seen from him maybe ever in his career, and definitely since he came back from the injury. Do we think that that's just because they was playing OKC one-off, or is there any chance that he's figuring some stuff out and getting healthy?
It's weird to me because I felt like before his injury, Nasir's calling card was like his defense and his, disruptiveness and energy. He did have a game a couple years back against Milwaukee when there was a lot of injuries, and he scored 30, and that was a really good game. This was also a really good game for him. I don't think his defense has been as good this year. He gets kind of lost on those backdoor cuts, but he's really showing and proving that he can be a valuable wing scorer coming off the bench. I still don't know if he's a starter as of yet, just because of the inconsistencies, the injuries, but he's got a cheap contract. He's only going to make about $7 million per season for the next 4 years. And I think that was because of the injury concerns. He got locked up under that. I think that Nasir is definitely proving he can play and be that good wing off the bench, but I would not hesitate to throw Nasir into a deal if it meant acquiring a star. And I think that these games are showcasing him. He's locked into this deal, so we're not going to need to re-sign him for a higher amount, but there's going to be a lot of decisions that we have to make in the offseason when it comes to trying to trade for a star to play with Dame. And Nasir is a key piece in this. I think he's a valuable commodity around the league if we're going to go star hunting, and if not, he's a valuable depth piece.
I'm glad he had a good showing, even if it means that we are just going to try to trade him. At least, that game shows that he still has a lot of talent. He's a very talented guy. He's had, I think his injury issues led to some confidence issues, but his talent is there, and he's a good shooter. He's got a nice looking shot for a guy his size and everything. So yeah, I hope the best for him, whether it's with us or because he helps us get something real good.
He scored in double figures 3 times in March in 11 games. Still, like, just looking at his box scores, still extremely inconsistent. Like, throughout the season, he'll have a game where he has 25 or more. He's done that like twice basically this season, but it's surrounded by just tons of single digit performances and, averaging like 6.5, 7 points. So he really hasn't seen any consistency with his offense. But like Colton said, I think he's been a revelation just because he wasn't really expected to be a contributor on the offensive end. He was expected more for that hustle, energy, defense sort of role. And he hasn't been so good at that aspect of it. But he has proven that he can maybe be a bit of a scorer coming off the bench. I don't really see him being a starter. And it seems to me like he's, other than the fact that he's on that cheap contract that might extend his run a little bit, but he's running out of opportunities, I feel like, to really establish himself as a, rotation player really on any team. He's going to have a really good season within the next couple of years, or else I just don't know if it's ever going to quite pan out for him.
One thing,
go ahead.
The way that Chauncey plays him, I think, is not probably very good for his long-term prospects, because
I agree.
I think this is just a Chauncey thing that and this is something that Stotts did not do, is that if a guy misses like 2 or 3 shots, Chauncey just yanks him and won't put him back in for the rest of the game. That's got to be harsh on your confidence, because I mean, like, a lot of these single digit scoring games that he only plays like 9 minutes. And then when he has these big games where he scores like 28, he's playing like 23, 27 minutes. I mean, and that's what you see when you watch it too, is that if he's not hot, he gets yanked and doesn't really get an opportunity to try to work his way into more. So I think that's a little bit of just a coaching style thing. And, it's if that's how Chauncey wants to play it, that's okay. But it's probably not very good for some of these guys who are trying to find homes in the league or trying to develop into role players.
I would quickly add that I think that the reason he gets yanked is because of defense, because I've seen repeated times where he just gets burned on the backdoor 3 possessions in a row, and it's like Chauncey calls a timeout and yanks him, doesn't put him back in. I think that you're right that if he had more consistent minutes, he'd be a more consistent scorer. I think he needs to improve on defense, which is odd to me that we're even having that discussion, because I think Chauncey tries to hang his hat on people who are going to try to play defense. It's kind of a double standard because, we've seen Simons get burned on defense a lot, and, he doesn't get yanked. And that's because the organization trusts him at a different level than maybe
$100 million.
Yeah. And so he's not going to get yanked, but there's some defense. People get burned on defense on the Blazers all the time. That's what happens when you're the 28th ranked defense, but Nasir isn't like established enough to get bypassed and getting benched just because of his injuries and stuff. So he's not an established player, so he's going to get yanked if he's getting burned on defense.
You really mentioned something that I heard earlier, and I'll just touch on quickly, that when Terry Stotts was the coach of the Blazers, I guess we were like 29th in defense, and now they're 27th. So after all that effort, getting a defensive coach, completely turning around the roster to try to bring in defensive players, and like you said, hang the hat on defense. They've jumped up a grand total of 2 spots.
So, I will say the roster construction is not done, and I think that was by design to not add size and playmaking, as we've discussed on this show before. I think Joe saw the writing on the wall that the team wasn't going to compete with just a couple vets. So he didn't sign any bigs. He didn't sign any playmakers to add more talent this offseason and to just unlock all of our picks. This has got to be the offseason we do it. And if you look at the draft, there is cheap talent there. Winding everything back to why we're tanking, there's cheap talent in the draft at the wing spot.
And at the center spot, at the 7-4, Kevin Durant offense, build a whole system on defense, center spot.
I would say he should probably play the 4 coming out just to not add wear and tear on his career if we're talking about Mr. Victor. But yeah.
Wemby and Shaedon are going to be the next Shaq and Kobe. Give it to me all day.
Literally, could you imagine the highlights from that duo from day one would be incredible. We don't even need to go into all the things Wemby would bring. I know Riley isn't the biggest fan, but he's there. He's lurking. If the Blazers luck into the number 1 pick, I would take Wemby. And guess what? Here's the list of players I would trade the number 1 pick for. Giannis. And that's it. That's the only player I would trade that number 1 pick for in the NBA. He's that talented. He has that much upside. If he gets injured, I don't care. At least we took the shot and didn't draft scared. That's all I'll say about Victor, because I could go on all day about Victor. That's it.
If I was the GM and I had the number 1 pick, I'd trade it for the number 2 pick so I could take Scoot Henderson and pair him with Damian Lillard. 2 point guards? Like, if
what
one of
could
them
go wrong?
off, you just pass the ball to the other guy and he'll go get you a bucket. You can't lose. Tell me I'm wrong.
Who's going to guard him?
Who's going to guard 2 point guards? I don't see how it's going to happen. It's going to revolutionize the NBA.
All right, well, let's run some
Speaking
tankathon
of the
and see
NBA.
whether we're getting Victor.
Yeah, run tankathon. It doesn't
All right.
matter. We're going to get Victor. I've spoken to him.
Okay, these are the rules. We're each going to do tankathon.com. You guys can do it too if you guys want to sim along with us. But the 3 of us are each going to simulate a lottery. One time, you get 1 button that you can press, and you got to tell us the results. Be faithful, be accurate, no lies. Riley, do you want to start us off?
Number 2 pick.
Oh, Scoot Henderson, here we come.
Detroit's getting Victor. Detroit's getting Victor, and Portland's getting not Scoot. We're going for Brandon.
Brandon Miller, right?
Yeah.
So
we'll take him at number 2. Pair him
that
with Damian
is
all day.
we're still in the 6th slot right now. If we can tank lower, we get even higher chances to move up.
Yep. That was moving up 4 spots.
That's awesome. Well, Kirby,
Colton, your turn, or do you want me to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
And I'll be honest. And we moved down to the 7th slot.
Ooh.
Which is a possibility.
Does it say who we're supposed to get at number 7?
No, it doesn't say who you're supposed to get. It just kind of sims where you would be positioned at that after the lottery.
Based on some other websites, that would probably put us maybe with Jarris Walker or Taylor Hendricks.
If you're at Tankathon and you click the mock draft, then you should be able to simulate it, and it says the player that you're supposed to get.
Okay, well, I'll sim it from here. And this time we move down 2 spots, but we pick up a guy in Cam Whitmore that's 6'7", and he's an interesting player that's on the Blazers' radar, I'm sure, along with Jarris Walker, along with the Thompson twins, along with Brandon Miller. There's a lot of bigger wings or even like power forward types in this top spot of the draft. That's why it's a good draft for the Blazers to be in this spot. Riley, you mentioned Taylor Hendricks, right? He's another guy that's lurking on there. Grady Dick, the small forward from Kansas. He's actually a pretty good player as well. I mean, there's a lot of wings and power forwards in the top of this draft. So
yeah,
Kirby,
like 6'9", 6'8", 6'9". That's what we need.
Yep.
I was gonna say before I hit my sim, I hope that we drop to number 9, so we automatically got the locked-in pick of Grady Dick. That is the number 1 option for me. Number 2, behind Scoot, of course.
Of course.
And I've been watching March Madness lately, so I'm all on that Drew Timmy bandwagon. Let's go, Drew Timmy.
All I can
need to,
say is
we
that
need to pick him up in the second round. He's going to be our Jokic going forward.
All I can say is that I am very glad March Madness is almost over so that we can get real basketball on TV again. Because this, like, TNT and ESPN every night, just unwatchable missed Chuck threes is like, it's wearing on me, man. It's wearing on me, you guys. Unwatchable basketball.
I think March Madness
so
is
exciting.
better.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I think March Madness is the only time of year I'll watch college basketball, but I do like March Madness. I like the initial rounds, especially when the upsets happen and when there's a ton of games on constantly all day. It's kind of fun to check in, but yeah, the rest of the season I don't really watch that much of.
The energy during March Madness is it's hard not to get hooked on it. Like, obviously they're nowhere near NBA players, but I kind of like watching it because it's like almost a level of basketball that I can kind of like comprehend playing at. Like, I couldn't play college basketball, but watching the pros, it's like I know what to expect from a fan's point of view, but like trying to put myself out on the court, it like almost doesn't compute. I'm like, it just doesn't make any sense. Watching the college players, it's like they can't just take ridiculous, coming off a screen chuck 40-foot threes and have it be a good shot. Like,
they still take them. It's just they shoot them at about 8%, and that's all that this entire tournament has been.
Which is what a normal person would shoot it. And it just makes more sense to me watching it. It passes the eye test for me more, like from a actual basketball perspective. But obviously the NBA is way more fun to watch.
Let's see. So the suspense. Let's hear your.
Okay, I'm pressing it. Blazers got the number 4 pick. Tankathon has us selecting Amon Thompson, 6'7" shooting guard / point guard. That's exactly what we need. Is another.
No, but you play that guy as a wing, a guy that can handle.
Then you got two like 20-year-old 6'7" wings that would be pretty fun to watch. Like,
why wouldn't we take his brother? I think we'd take his brother if we had that pick, because he's a little bit bigger and rebounds better and even scores a little bit better. So I don't know. I think we'd take the other one.
Both of those players are good. They're playing in a league that's kind of questionable. It's kind of a weird, like, TikTok league, kind of where it's like your competition level is who knows, but they're athletic like marvels. They're crazy. And
I like that TikTok league. I'm gonna start calling
it's not like a college basketball. It's kind of like the running at the Y, right? Like you're running down cherry picking. But the players themselves are really, really talented, and they're another player that you could add to the lineup. You could probably start them at the 3 and be pretty excited about what they bring, just because they're kind of like a Dyson Daniels type, where they're probably more talented than that, obviously, but like a 6'7" guy who can handle the ball and can be explosive in that regard. So those are good choices too. And to summarize everything that's happened, we've done the lottery 3 times. We've moved up twice. So that's pretty good. And if we drop to the 5th slot, we get an even higher chance at moving up. So I like what we've done just from our 3 times of hitting Tankathon.
I just did it again, and we got up to number 2, and we're taking Brandon Miller.
3 out of 4.
Oh, Tank!
3 out of 4.
Rest of games. I'm fully jumping on the Tank bandwagon. Let's go. Well, you can't. Winning doesn't matter at this stage. It's not going to affect player chemistry or anything like that. You just got to go out there and lose as much as you can to get the talent on your team, right, Colton? Right?
Hey, get talent wins in the NBA.
Did I say it right?
Talent wins in the NBA. You got to get stars to win. Just saying. You can trade the pick if you don't want to get a college player.
Speaking of the NBA and talent and trades, you guys like that segue? We're going to be talking about some of the trades that were made during the trade deadline and how they're shaping up, shaking out, and looking here. Like a month and a half removed from the trade deadline, of just a week or two away from the playoffs. The first one that me and Riley would really like to discuss for a few minutes is the Dallas Mavericks. They obviously traded for Kyrie Irving.
The farm. They traded the farm.
Yeah. What did they give up? Like Finney Smith, Dinwiddie, a few picks. I can't remember the exact haul that they got.
There's a good amount of picks.
Yeah, it was basically all the picks that Dallas could send, if I remember right.
Yeah.
But the main thing that we wanted to discuss, and that we've been discussing behind off screen for the last few weeks, is how inconsistent the Mavericks have looked since they made the trade. Tonight they destroyed the Pacers 127 to 104. But since the trade, they have looked pretty shaky. I think that the lack of some giving up some of their depth for Kyrie Irving kind of hurt. They don't seem like they have quite as much length, quite as much defense as they had maybe before that. And I don't know, the big question that I had after the trade is, like, you're giving up the best player on your team is a point guard, and you're giving up a defensive guy, a bench guy, your depth for another point guard. Like, how is that going to work out? Are they going to be able to coexist on the floor at the same time? Us Blazers fans have a lot of experience watching 2 point guards share the floor together, and with limited success.
At least Luka's bigger though.
Failure.
At least he's like 6'8".
Yeah, he just doesn't really. He doesn't play like he's 6'8" off ball. On ball, he play. When he has the ball in his hands, he plays like he's 6'8". I mean, he plays like a 6'8" point guard, but he doesn't necessarily do like a bunch of stuff for you. When he doesn't have the ball, he's not slashing to the rim and doing putback dunks or playing real lockdown defense or anything like that. So it is 2 guys that it's like their best skill set is to have the ball in their hands, to be dribbling, to be making plays for their teammates, and to be scoring, taking a lot of shots. So it's going to be interesting.
They were not a good defensive team before the trade, and bringing in Kyrie is never going to make your team a better defensive team. And you just knew that there were going to be personality issues between Luka and Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie, when's the last time he went onto a team and made them, brought them together in any way? It's never happened. I don't know what he was like in middle school, but I'm going to say it was at least that long ago that he came onto a team and made them better. I mean, he makes the game not fun for people. Luka specifically said in a press conference this week, I used to have fun playing basketball and I'm not anymore. I mean, that's what's happened since Kyrie came to the team. Now, there might be other stuff going on. I'm not trying to put words in Luka's mouth. He didn't throw shade at Kyrie, but he's not having a good time. And the team isn't gelling in any way. And they really did mortgage their future for Kyrie Irving. And we called that was going to be a mistake. And I think some other people did too. And yeah, I mean, they are now not in the playoffs. They're not even in the play-in. And sure, they killed the Pacers tonight, but I don't really see them pulling it back together and making any kind of run this year. And most likely, Kyrie's gone after I don't really see them giving it another run next year, especially if Luka's not happy. If this stuff going on beyond basketball that he's talking about is locker room stuff, then, I mean, they mortgage their future for the past, something that's going away.
They lost 2 in a row to your Charlotte Hornets. 2 in a row. I think I would be unhappy with my situation if my team lost 2 in a row to the Charlotte Hornets without any of their players healthy except Gordon Hayward somehow. My question, does Luka demand out? because he's pissed and he's not having fun, and that's just the era we're in where stars ask out, except for Dame. He's fine with not making the play in this year, right? Does Luka ask out? I don't know, but could be some spicy off-season rumors around Dallas.
Yeah, they're it's going to be decided for them. This season's going to be decided in the playoffs. If they can make a playoff run, then this will all be mute. But if they don't make the playoffs, then that's going to be really bad for them because they won't even have the chance to, make their name this season. And like if that happens in particular, I still think they probably squeeze in. Although I've been looking at this playoff race all year long, and I'm like, who the hell is gonna miss it? I still don't know.
Gonna be Dallas. They're out.
The Lakers and Dallas might miss it. The Lakers might make the play in, but yeah,
I like OKC. I honestly think that they're gonna be a tough out, both to get them out of the play-in and if they make the play-in. I think that they're gonna be a tough out. The Timberwolves are getting healthy finally. Cat's coming back. Haven't heard anything about Zion and New Orleans, so they could also be. They got a deep team though. Ingram and CJ. Those guys would probably be enough to get them in. So yeah, it's like obviously the only real question that's been answered is the Blazers will not be making the play-in, but the rest of these teams is still like any of them could make it. There's going to be. I mean, the Jazz it looks like they're kind of leaning towards out too, but there's going to be one team that's really, it's going to be a disaster for them to miss it. Basically, it's going to be really bad news for one of those teams to miss it. And right now, the Mavericks are sitting out looking in. And I don't know if that'd be the case if they would have not made this trade. I mean, I think that they had some chemistry built up. I think that Dorian Finney-Smith really did add, he wasn't like I don't know if he's like a championship piece for them, but he's a 3-and-D guy, which is really nice to have around Luka. And you don't have that guy anymore, and you have a little 6'1" dude who's always bitching and moaning all the time. It changes the composure of the composition of the team pretty, in an extreme way.
Well, yeah. I think one thing's for sure as we end this video, it's going to be an interesting playoff race for the first time in a long time. We don't know who's coming out of the West. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, that a couple other teams that were, made big splashes. The Suns, they're having some injury concerns right now, although KD is supposed to be coming back. The Clippers, they look like they actually did pretty well during the trade deadline. But yeah, it's any of those teams in the West, man. It's going to be real fun, the playoffs. All right.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time. Hopefully not from our homes, hopefully from the set. But I guess you'll have to tune in next time to find out.
Bye.
See ya.